In our last few videos, we learned about variables and how to store different types of information like text, numbers, and Boolean values inside of our variables. However, last time we only displayed them on the terminal. Today we will learn about how we can actually do things with variables. Now, you're all very well familiar with addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division from your math classes. Python can do all of those things too, using numbers. You can either store these numbers in variables first and then work with them, or instead, you can even directly print out a math operation using numbers. So, for example, let's say that we have 2 apples and then we find 2 more apples in the kitchen. To calculate how many total apples we have, we can use the plus sign. So, for example, we have 2 apples at first and then we find 2 more apples. So we can just print this, and when we click run, we see the answer, which is 4. So to use this plus sign, you have to press shift and the plus sign on your keyboard at the same time. So of course this prints 4 because 2 plus 2 is 4, and we just directly write this operation inside of our print statement. Now let's comment this out, and now let's say that you ate one of the 4 apples. So this means that you will have 4 minus 1 apples left. So you can do this in Python too. So we write 4 and then we write minus 1. And when we print this, we get 3. If I comment this out, and now we can also do multiplication using the star sign. So I write print, open parentheses, close parentheses, and then inside these parentheses, I write, let's say 3 into 5. If I print this, I get the number 15 on my terminal. And also, if you want to use the star sign, you have to press the shift key and the number 8 key at the same time on your keyboard. And I'll comment this out as well. Now, finally, you can even do division using the slash sign in Python. So let's print this operation. Let's say, for example, 15 divided by 5. And if we run this, we get the answer as 3.0, basically 3. And so yeah, we're printing this as well. This is just division, and we get 3 as the answer because 15 divided by 5 is equal to 3. Alright, so we can comment that out as well. Now, up until here, we've been directly printing each math operation. However, we can also store numbers in variables and even operations in variables directly. So let's look at an example. Let's say you have a favorite chocolate brand that sells boxes of chocolates, and each box has 10 chocolates. Now, your dad gives you 6 of these boxes. So let's create some variables for these. So we have, let me just clear all of this. So we have a boxes variable, which is equal to 6. And we have a chocolates variable, which is equal to 10. So this tells us that each box has 10 chocolates, and we have 6 boxes that our dad or someone has gifted us. Alright, so now imagine that you want to share the chocolates in these boxes evenly with your 4 close friends. So let's create another variable to store the number of friends that we have. Let's say friends is equal to 4. So from math class, you would have learned about BIDMAS, and BIDMAS tells you what math operation happens first, right? So for example, division happens before multiplication and addition happens before subtraction. BIDMAS also tells you that everything inside of any brackets will always happen first. So if you want to store the number of chocolates that will be distributed to each friend, how can you do it? Well, like I said, we can store entire operations inside of variables too. So why don't we create a variable that will store the number of chocolates that each friend will get? So we create a variable called each friend. Remember, because our variable has 2 words, we need to separate them using an underscore. And we will write the equal to sign. And now we can write our operation. So what we'll do is we'll first write an opening and a closing parentheses, and inside of this we will first write chocolates into boxes. So right now over here, this gives us the total number of chocolates that we have from all of our boxes. This is the total number of chocolates that we have. So if you do 10 into 6, you'll get 60. Now we said that we want to divide each of these chocolates evenly for all of our 4 friends. So we simply write the division operator, which is a slash, and we write friends. and we can print this as well. So we can print each friend, and let's run this. So we get our answer as 15, which means that each friend will get 15 chocolates from our total of 60 chocolates from all of our boxes. So here what we are doing is we are calculating the number of chocolates that each of our 4 friends get using variables. Now in Python you can also change the value of a variable after you assign it. Let's say that you want to give 2 more chocolates to each friend in addition to the ones that you are already giving them from your chocolate boxes. So how can we do this? Well, it's pretty simple. We first write each friend variable and we set this equal to each friend plus 2. We want to give 2 more chocolates to each friend, right? So then we can print this variable one more time and we can run this. So from line 6 we get 15 as the answer, and from line 9 we get 17 as the output. This is because at first our each friend variable was 15 and then we added 2 to our each friend variable. So after line 9 the each friend variable value became 17. So what are we doing here? Well, over here we are just setting the each friend variable equal to what we had previously stored in it, as well as adding 2 to it. Now this is one way to do it, but because we are using the Python coding language, there is an easier way to do it too. So I will comment this out and I will simply write each friend plus equal to. That's it. Now if we run this, it gives us the exact same answer. So by writing this, we are doing the exact same thing that we were doing here. And all this is doing is telling Python to increase the value of this variable, the number that we are storing inside the each friend variable. We are telling Python to increase that by 2. That's all we're doing. And we can do subtraction, division and multiplication in a similar way. So for example, if I comment this out and let's say each friend, we want to reduce 1 chocolate for each friend. So we just have to write minus equal to and 1. And if we print each friend, we will see that the answer becomes 14. So from line 6, when we were first printing each friend, we know that the answer is, or the output is 15. And then from line 13, when we print each friend after reducing its value by 1, we see that the answer is 14 because we did minus equal to 1. This just tells Python to reduce whatever we're storing inside this each friend variable, that needs to be reduced by number 1. Now we know that this is how we can do subtraction very simply in Python. Now what if we want to do, let's say, multiplication? So let's say we want to multiply the number of chocolates that each friend gets by 2. So we can do it like this. So here we write star first and then we write equal to sign. And so this is telling it whatever value you already have for each friend, you just multiply that by 2. So now when we print each friend, our answer will actually be 30 over here. Our output from line 16 will be 30. So over here you can see that from line 6 it first prints 15. Like I said, this is the initial value, this is the initial number that we store in this each friend variable. And then after everything, from line 15, when we multiply the number that we're storing in this each friend variable, when we multiply that by 2 and then we print it, the value becomes 30 because 15 into 2 is 30. Now finally we can do division in a similar way too. We can just write each friend slash equal to 3, let's say. And then when we print each friend one more time, we see 5 because we're dividing the current value of each friend by 3 and we're printing it. That's it. So 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. So that's why we see the second line of output is equal to 5. Now you might be wondering why we're not seeing anything from here. Why is it not printing plus each friend plus 2, each friend minus 1, each friend into 2? Why is it not printing this? Well, if you remember, we had discussed what comments were. And so because all of these, we have commented all of these lines, it will not, none of this code will work. Python will not read this code and the computer will not understand this code. But because everything else that we've written does not have the hash sign in front of it, it will work. So yeah, that's all. So now it's time for a short question. Okay, so you have 5 packets of biscuits and each pack has 8 biscuits. Now you want to share these biscuits equally among your 3 friends. So how do you print the number of biscuits that each friend gets using Python? The correct answer is option C. First, you need to multiply the number of packs with the number of biscuits in each pack. Then you need to divide it by the number of friends you have. And option C correctly follows this order. Okay, moving on. Now I want to show you a very interesting thing that Python can do. You know from your math classes that you can add numbers, of course. But did you know you can also add strings together? Wait, okay, before I continue, what is a string? Well, a string is just another way of saying words. When you have a single word or some words put together, we call it a string. From now onwards, I will use the word string quite a lot. But don't get confused. All it means is some text. Right, okay. So how can we add strings together? Well, let's take a look. I'm going to start by deleting all of this code that we have already written. And let's start by printing something. So we write print and we write our opening and closing parentheses. Then our first string will be Raj. And then we write plus. Then we write lives in. And then finally we write India. Okay, now this might look a little bit confusing, but it's quite straightforward. So let's see what we're doing. We first have the string Raj. To the string Raj, we add the string that says lives in. And then finally we add this string that says India. So when we print this and we can run the code, it says Raj lives in India. We're taking all of these 3 pieces of text and we're joining them together and printing it. That's it. So now you can notice actually one thing. We have put an extra space before and after this middle string that says lives in. We have put an extra space before and after the string. Why is this? Okay, well, why don't we look at what happens if we remove this extra space? So I'll delete it from here and I'll delete it from here. Now there's no extra space in any of the strings. Let's run this code. What happens? That's not a very good looking sentence, right? Well, we can see that all of the words are not properly separated with spaces. It doesn't form a proper sentence. And this is because the string Raj, this string, it doesn't have a space after it. And the word India, this does not have a space before it. Instead, we can go back to what we had earlier. And over here, we put a space before and after the middle string, so it properly creates a sentence. So we can run this one more time and we see Raj lives in India. Okay, great. Now, right now we're just directly printing this operation using strings, but we can also do the same thing using variables. So let me delete all of this. Let me create a variable to store a name first. So name is equal to, let's say, Raj. So this is the name of the variable. It's called name. And we write the equal to sign. And we store the string Raj inside this name variable. Then the second variable we have will be called country. And inside of this, we store the string India. Okay. Now we can print name plus lives in plus country. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're first taking the value, the string that we store inside the name variable over here. And then we're adding the string lives in. And then we're finally adding the string that we store inside the country variable over here. Now, there's something that I've done wrong here. Did you notice what I did? I forgot the space before and after the middle string. Again, if we run this, it doesn't make a proper sentence. But if I add a space after and before this middle string, this connection string, and I run it again, it makes a proper sentence. So just be cautious of that. Be careful of that. But instead of writing out the strings like this inside of these variables, what if we use the input statement to get their values? Let's try and change it. So instead of writing Raj over here in a string, what if I made an input statement? And I said, inside the input statement, my question was, what is your name? And then for country, I write another input statement. And over here, I will ask, what is your country? Okay. So all I'm doing here is first I'm taking an input to ask the user what their name is. And then whatever they type in that, I will store in this variable that I'm calling name. Then I ask the user for input one more time, and this time I'm asking what their country is. And whatever they enter for that, I stored inside this variable called country. And then I do the exact same thing I was doing before. I print first the name, and then I add this connection string, and then finally I print the country that they live in. So let's try and run this. Well, here I can write my own name and my own country as input in the terminal. So let's say my name, we know my name is Ariman, so let me type that. So that's the first thing. Then it's asking for what my country is. So I write India. And as you can see, we see a fully formed sentence that is getting printed out. It says Ariman lives in India. So the first input that we gave it was my name, which is Ariman, and that got stored in this name variable. The second input we gave in the terminal was the country that I live in, and the country that I live in is India. So that also got stored in this country variable. And then finally I'm printing first my name, or rather the name variable, and then I'm adding this connection string to make it a full sentence. And then after that I'm just adding the country variable, or what I'm storing in the country variable, which is exactly what I put in the terminal. And if I run this again, I can try it with different values also. Let's say the name is maybe Raj, and let's say the country is USA. So now it says Raj lives in USA. So this is how input can be so powerful. I can change what I want to show on the terminal just by putting in different values in my input. That's cool, right? Alright, now it's time for a short question. What will be the output of the following code? The correct answer is option A. In Python, when we use the plus operator with strings, it joins them together, as I've talked about. In the given code, we have two string variables. One is called first name and one is called last name. In our code, we are adding three things. First, we add the value inside the variable called first name. Then, we add a string with only a space, just one space. And finally, we add the value inside the variable called last name. And we join all of these together to print the correct answer. Alright, great job. Now, before I end today's video, there is one thing that I need to show you. What if we wanted to print a number and a string together? Let's say we have a name variable and an age variable. So let's see what we can do. Let me delete all of this code and let me write a name variable, and I will store Raj inside of it. And then I will write an age variable and I will store the number 16 inside of it. So let's assume that the name variable stores the string Raj and the age variable stores the number 16. Keep in mind, we never put quotation marks in front of numbers, at least not for now. Now let's print name plus is plus age. And so what this will print is, it will first print the name, then it will print this connection word, so it forms a full sentence, and then finally it will print the age. Correct? Well, do you think this code would work? Let's try and run it. Okay, well, we get an error. Why do you think this happens? The reason is you can never add a string and a number together. You can add a string and a string together. You can add a number and a number together. But you can never add both a string and a number together. At least not like this. So the question is, how do we add a string and a number together? It has to be possible, right? Well, a simple way is to convert the number into a string just by adding quotation marks around it. So I put one quotation mark here, and I put one quotation mark here. Now this will work perfectly if I try to run it. As you can see, on the terminal we can see Raj is 16. So this takes the name variable and then it adds this connection statement or this connection word, and then it adds the value that we store inside the age variable, which is 16. Now, what we're doing here is tricking Python. The number is actually a string. We're tricking Python into thinking that. And because of this, it does not show us an error. Instead, it adds everything together like we expect. Alright, so one last question for today. What will be the output of the code shown? The correct answer is option C. In this code, we have two variables. The first one is called name, which contains the string Rohan, and the second one is called age, which contains the number 15. When we try to add a string and a number using the plus sign, Python doesn't allow it and shows an error. This is because the plus sign can only be used to add two strings together or two numbers together, but not a string and a number, as I had previously discussed. However, the name variable is a string and the age variable is a number. Since we are adding them, we will get an error. Anyways, great job today, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.